Man's only enemy is his own limited self. The old self, bound in fear, doubt, resentment, and false beliefs, must die before the new can be born. You cannot attract riches while you walk hand in hand with lack. The old thought, form, soaked in poverty ideas and cloaked in unworthiness, must be dissolved by the flame of spiritual truth. For no two things can occupy the same space. The frequency of wealth cannot dwell where the vibration of lack lingers. The first step toward aligning with the frequency of wealth is the complete and conscious destruction of the old self. The self that has been molded by fear, doubt, failure, and limitation. This self is not the real you. It is a counterfeit identity, formed by years of accepting appearances over truth and reacting to the outer world instead of creating from the inner one. It is a self built from borrowed beliefs, inherited lack, societal programming, and emotional wounds. This self must be removed like a veil if one is to see clearly the abundance that already surrounds them. The old self thrives on stories that no longer serve. I never have enough. I'm not worthy of more. Success is for others. These are not divine truths. They are false affirmations that the subconscious mind takes as commands. Every time they are spoken or thought, the old self grows stronger, building walls between you and your demonstration. It becomes a prison, and you, the jailer. But spiritual law teaches that man has the power to remake himself entirely, not through effort, but by decision. To kill the old self is not to struggle with it, but to see it for what it is: a ghost, a shadow, a lie. Fear is one of the strongest pillars upholding this false identity. Fear of change, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment. Yet fear is only faith turned inside out, faith in the wrong thing. To maintain fear is to affirm that the universe is hostile, that supply is limited, and that you are separate from your good. But this is not truth. The truth is the supply is infinite, and man is one with all he desires. The moment you believe in lack, you step out of alignment with divine substance and fall into the illusion of separation. This illusion is the very fabric of the old self. To kill the old self is to withdraw your energy from this illusion. It is to reject appearances that contradict your good. It is to cease rehearsing old disappointments and failures as if they were badges of truth. You are not your past. You are not your conditions. You are not your bank account. You are not your mistakes. You are a spiritual being, backed by the infinite, with the power to recreate your world through the word. When you kill the old self, you stop identifying with struggle. You stop speaking defeat. You stop imagining worst-case scenarios. You stop explaining your limitations. Instead, you become a vessel for new thought, for divine ideas, for higher frequencies. You begin to think from the end, not toward it. You speak the word not from hope, but from certainty. The old self hoped. The new self knows. Many will resist this process because the old self is familiar. There is a strange comfort in misery when it is known. But comfort is not the goal, liberation is. The old self will whisper, "This is just how life is." It will try to keep you small to feel safe. But the truth is, you are not here to be safe. You are here to be powerful. You are here to expand. And the frequency of wealth cannot match a soul still clinging to the chains of an old story. It is not enough to affirm abundance while dragging the corpse of the old self behind you. Words must be aligned with belief, and belief must be aligned with identity. You must become the person who naturally receives wealth, not merely wish for wealth from the person who never has it. This transformation is spiritual, not external. It begins in the secret place of the Most High, your own inner consciousness. There, in stillness, the old self is stripped away, not by force, but by light. Two frequencies cannot occupy the same space. This is a spiritual law, immutable and precise. Just as darkness cannot exist where light is introduced, lack cannot exist where abundance is fully realized. In the realm of vibration, everything operates according to law. Your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and spoken words all carry a frequency, a vibrational signal that moves out into the ethers and draws its match. You cannot simultaneously vibrate at the frequency of fear and expect to receive the results of faith. You cannot carry the tone of poverty in your heart and expect riches to feel welcome. Man often believes he can straddle two worlds, the world of truth and the world of illusion. He thinks he can affirm wealth in the morning and speak of bills and burdens by afternoon. He visualizes prosperity, then entertains worry. But this duality confuses the law. It is like tuning a radio dial to two stations at once. All that results is static. The universe does not respond to mixed signals. It responds to clarity. The clearer your frequency, the quicker the demonstration. This is why it becomes necessary to choose. You must choose which world you will dwell in. Will you abide in the realm of truth, where supply is limitless and your every need is already met in divine mind? Or will you continue to dance with appearances, giving your power to conditions, people, and outer circumstances? You cannot serve two masters. You cannot vibrate in abundance while feeding on fear. One frequency must dominate, and whichever you give the most attention to will prevail. The space you hold within you, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, must be prepared for what you seek. If it is already filled with anxiety, resentment, scarcity thoughts, and disbelief, there is no room for wealth to flow. Just as a vessel must be emptied to receive fresh water, so too must the consciousness be cleared of all that contradicts the thing desired. This is not punishment. It is precision. You are a magnetic field, and what you attract is not based on what you want, but on what you are. Many people want wealth, but they are still tuned to the frequency of not having enough. Their conversations reflect it. Their emotions reflect it. Their habits reflect it. They may say affirmations, but their inner state remains in conflict. And the law, which never fails, brings them a match, not to their words, but to their dominant vibration. This is why you must become ruthlessly honest with yourself. What are you broadcasting? What emotion do you carry most of the time? What expectation lives under your affirmations? To match the frequency of wealth, one must become wealth in consciousness. This means feeling rich now, thinking thoughts of sufficiency now, giving generously now, receiving graciously now. There can be no waiting for the condition to change. The condition is the result. It is not the cause. The cause is the vibration you hold, the frequency you emit, the truth you embody. Just as a seed cannot grow in a soil that rejects it, so wealth cannot grow in a heart filled with contradiction. If you say, I am abundant, but think, I can't afford that, the frequency is broken. The seed dies in infertile ground. The law of vibration demands alignment, not merely verbal repetition, but a full body agreement. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions must move as one current. When they do, you become a match for all that is good. You must become intolerant of split energy. You must train your mind to choose wealth over worry, gratitude over complaint, faith over fear. Each moment presents a choice, and in each choice, a frequency is established. And in that frequency, your entire world begins to rearrange itself to match your dominant inner state. To align thoughts with wealth is to understand that all manifestation begins in the unseen. Before anything is made visible, it is first formed in the mind. The invisible realm of thought is the workshop of creation. Every castle, every coin, every career, and every circumstance begins as an idea. The substance of wealth is first spiritual, and only later material. Therefore, man must first adjust his thinking to the standard of abundance before abundance can appear in his world. Thoughts are not idle. They are creative, electric, magnetic. Each thought sends out a vibration, a silent decree, a message to the infinite. If one's thoughts are shaped in fear, doubt, or resentment, then the substance they draw forth is of the same nature. The law cannot be mocked. It returns to man the exact equivalent of that which he has impressed upon it. So, if the mind is cluttered with thoughts of lack, then lack must follow. If the mind is purified and centered upon divine abundance, then abundance must take form. Most people attempt to change their outer conditions while leaving their thoughts unchanged. They strive, they labor, they hustle, believing that effort alone will bring riches. But without mental alignment, all effort becomes like chasing shadows. Action unsupported by thought is scattered and weak. The man who aligns his thoughts with wealth finds that opportunities, resources, and connections begin to appear without strain. He does not chase money, it is drawn to him, for he has become its match. To align the mind with wealth is not simply to think about money. It is to think from the place of sufficiency. It is to develop a prosperity consciousness, a mental environment in which ideas of success, value, generosity, and confidence are natural and constant. This state cannot be faked. The universe responds not to words, but to vibration. Words that are spoken from a consciousness of lack will not bear fruit, but even a silent thought, firmly rooted in faith and expectation, can move mountains. This is why guarding the mind is essential. Every thought must be examined, for thoughts are seeds. What are you planting with your attention? What crop are you nurturing with your imagination? If you dwell on past failures, if you entertain worries about bills, if you constantly speak of what you cannot afford, then you are watering weeds. But if you fill the mind with images of wealth, if you speak only what you desire to see, if you meditate on divine supply, then you are planting a garden that cannot help but bloom. The mind must be trained like a disciplined soldier. It cannot be allowed to wander into negative territory. The moment a thought of limitation arises, it must be replaced with truth. The truth is God is your supply. The truth is wealth is already yours in the unseen. The truth is you are one with infinite substance, and no good thing is withheld from you. These truths, repeated and believed, will rewire the very fabric of your consciousness until the old thought patterns dissolve. To think in terms of wealth is to refuse to dwell in appearances. It is to walk by faith and not by sight. It is to affirm abundance when there is no outer sign, knowing that the inner state always precedes the outer result. It is to speak riches into existence with the conviction of one who knows the law. The aligned mind does not beg, bargain, or doubt. It declares, it commands, it expects. The alignment must be consistent. One cannot think abundance for 5 minutes and then return to complaining for the rest of the day. The dominant vibration wins. So, the work becomes one of persistence and repetition. Just as a stream will wear down the rock with constant flow, so too will new thoughts, repeated daily, dissolve the old patterns. The subconscious mind is man's faithful servant, silently recording and reflecting back everything that is impressed upon it. It does not reason, it does not judge, it does not decide. It simply accepts what it is given and brings it to life. Whether it is a thought of wealth or a thought of poverty, the subconscious does not discriminate. It receives the command and acts upon it with divine precision. This is why man's outer world is always a mirror of his inner beliefs, especially those that lie below the surface of his conscious awareness. What is impressed upon the subconscious becomes law. Every belief, no matter how small, is a seed planted, and just as a seed cannot help but grow once it is placed in fertile soil, so too will the subconscious bring forth whatever is repeatedly fed into it. If a person constantly affirms, "Money is hard to come by," "I never have enough," or "I'm not lucky with finances," these statements take root and begin to construct a reality that matches them. It is not punishment, it is not fate, it is simply law in motion. The subconscious is like rich soil. It will grow weeds just as easily as it will grow roses. It is the conscious mind's responsibility to choose what is planted. Man becomes what he thinks about, what he feels deeply, and what he habitually believes to be true. The mind may say, "I desire abundance," but if the subconscious has been programmed with fear, lack, or guilt around money, Those hidden vibrations will govern the result. There can be no lasting prosperity until the subconscious is in agreement with wealth. Words and images are the tools by which the subconscious is impressed. Repetition is the method. Emotion is the fuel. The more emotion that is tied to a thought, the deeper it sinks into the subconscious. This is why traumatic beliefs formed in childhood often persist into adulthood. They were planted with intense emotion and were never uprooted. To change the subconscious, one must speak the new truth often, with feeling and with full acceptance. The affirmation must become so natural, so familiar, that it replaces the old program. Impressing wealth upon the subconscious is not about forced positivity or pretending that problems do not exist. It is about training the mind to dwell upon truth rather than illusion. The truth is wealth is everywhere. The truth is divine substance is infinite. The truth is, there is no shortage in the mind of God. When these truths are accepted and repeated, they begin to override the old story. The subconscious cannot hold two opposing beliefs forever. One must win. The one you feed the most becomes your reality. Visualization is a powerful tool for impressing the subconscious. When you see yourself living in abundance, receiving with ease, giving with joy, and walking in freedom, your subconscious begins to adapt to that image. It cannot tell the difference between what is imagined and what is real. It simply records the emotion and responds accordingly. To the subconscious, what you feel consistently is what is true. So when you dwell in the feeling of wealth, you create wealth, whether it is visible yet or not. Man must become vigilant. Every word spoken about money is a command to the subconscious. Every thought entertained about lack is a silent decree. Every emotion of fear or worry is a signal that the subconscious receives as instruction. Therefore, speak only what you want to see. Feel only what aligns with your desire. Think only what uplifts your vision. The subconscious will not argue, it will obey. This obedience is not weakness, it is power. The subconscious is the engine behind manifestation, the hidden force shaping every condition. When it is aligned with divine truth, it becomes your greatest ally. But when it is filled with contradiction, it becomes the saboteur. To declare abundance with authority is to speak from the realm of spiritual truth, not from the illusion of current conditions. Most people speak of wealth as something distant, something to hope for or strive toward, but the one who truly understands divine law knows that abundance is already present in the unseen. The words must not beg. The words must not plead. They must proclaim. They must carry the conviction of someone who knows. They are backed by the infinite substance of the universe. When man speaks from authority, he speaks as one with dominion, not as a servant to circumstance. He does not wait for evidence to feel wealthy. He feels wealthy and then speaks accordingly. The spoken word is a mold, a container for the invisible supply to take form. If the mold is weak, the result will be weak. If the mold is clear and firm, the result will match its strength. This is why idle talk, vague affirmations, and half-hearted declarations have little effect. The law responds to certainty, not to lukewarm desires. To speak with authority is to declare what already exists in divine mind. There is no delay in the spiritual realm. The delay is only in man's belief. When he speaks with conviction, the gates open, and what is his by divine right rushes toward him. But when he speaks in doubt, hesitancy, or contradiction, he shuts the gate himself. Authority does not come from effort. It comes from alignment with truth. It comes from knowing that your words are not just sounds. They are creative commands. Man was given dominion through the word. All things begin with speech. First inner, then outer. The declaration of abundance must be spoken aloud, with feeling, with energy, with expectancy. The voice itself is a vibration, a tool of manifestation. Every time you say, "I am rich," and truly mean it, you send a signal into the ethers that must return to you multiplied. But if you say, "I am rich," and internally laugh or recoil in disbelief, The declaration is empty, and the vibration is weak. There is no room for apology in divine speech. One does not tiptoe into wealth. One steps into it boldly. To speak with authority is to claim your inheritance without shame. It is not arrogance. It is obedience to spiritual law. The universe responds to the bold, to the unwavering, to those who do not entertain the opposite thought. Even when the bank account appears empty, the rent unpaid, the debt looming, the soul that speaks abundance in that moment creates the very shift required for demonstration. Declarations spoken in authority must become a daily practice, a sacred ritual. They are not random. They are intentional. They are crafted with precision and released into the world with faith. The spoken word becomes the bridge between what is and what will be. It bypasses fear when spoken often enough. It rewrites the subconscious. It reshapes the environment. It summons new conditions into being. The one who speaks wealth from a place of lack may appear foolish to the world, but the law does not care about appearances. The law is activated by vibration, not by the approval of others. Speak the word even when you don't see results yet. Speak it until your mind surrenders to it. Speak it until your circumstances bow to it. Speak it as if heaven itself is listening, because it is. Abundance is not attracted by weak language. It is not summoned by casual wishes. It responds to power, to faith, to unshakable declarations rooted in divine identity. I am wealth. I am richly supplied. Money flows to me freely and endlessly. These are not just sentences. They are laws in motion when spoken with true authority.